It has been a hot minute since I filmed a book review, so bear with me if things get a little rough here and there. Hello everybody, my name is Danny and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the first book review that I've done in a long time. Although this isn't quite a book review, this is a review for a webcomic, or manhwa, I believe is how it's pronounced, which is kind of the Korean version of a manga. But this is the first time I've ever tried reading a webcomic, and it surprised me, so I figured I would do a little review video for you guys. So I read Under the Oak Tree by Kim Suji. I had been seeing ads for this on Instagram for like a month maybe, I'd say, like constantly ads for this, and I finally gave in and checked it out, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was a slow start, and by that I mean the pacing was really bad and it was actually a really fast start, but I mean it was slow for me to get interested in it, but I stuck with it and I read all of the first season, which is the first 34 chapters, and I liked it enough to do a review for you guys. So as a little bit of a premise, Under the Oak Tree follows Maxi, who is the oldest daughter of a duke, and she has a really horrible stutter, and her father hates this about her and is extremely abusive, and there's some sort of like political deal going on where prior to the start of the story, he marries her off to Rifton, who is some common knight, and then the night after their wedding, Rifton goes off to fight a dragon and some other things for the king, and 3 years later he returns to collect his bride and bring her to his castle. And that is all I knew of the story going into things, and I've got some different facets of the story that I want to discuss for this review. So first off, we have Maxi, which is actually short for Maximilian, which I think is really funny, but she just goes by Maxi, and like I said, she's the daughter of a duke, and she has this really bad stutter, and because of that she was abused by her father, which I think is kind of weird. I mean, there's no reason any parent should abuse their child, but I feel like this is just a very low bar to set for that. I feel like there should have been something more, like, I don't know, something that could have added more depth to her character and her backstory. I personally think it would have been really cool if she was disabled, and unfortunately, disabled people are at a higher risk of being abused by the people around them, and as sad as that is, I feel like it would have added like another layer to her character. I also just really want to see more disability rep in stories, so that might be why I'm kind of wishing that was the case here, but it's not. And I don't know, she's still a pretty good character. She's very unsure of herself, and like she talks down on herself a lot, which is understandable considering she was abused growing up. And I'm very excited to see how she comes into herself as the story progresses. We have gotten a little bit of that in this first season, but it's been very slow going, and like I said, I'm excited to see where that goes for her. And then we have Rifton, who is the male lead. Like I said, he was married off to Maxi for reasons I don't quite understand. It was not very well explained what this whole political deal between them was, but that's fine. I don't really care that much. He is kind of a very stereotypical big, strong man who doesn't talk about his emotions and has anger issues, but at the same time he has a soft side, and like it's really clear how much he adores Maxi, and it's so cute. And like I said, he has a hard time talking about his feelings and his past, and I look forward to seeing how he opens up to Maxi more. They both need to open up to each other because they don't talk about themselves a lot, and it only just starts towards the end of the first season where they like begin to open up to each other more, and I really look forward to seeing that blossom into a healthy communicating relationship. Then we have Ruth. Ruth is the local sorcerer, and he's honestly my favorite character, but I mean, he's a sarcastic asshole who sleeps in the library, and also he does magic, so like what isn't there to love about him? He's really cool. He becomes Maxi's confidant at times because as the new lady of the castle, she's in charge of like finances and things, and she doesn't really have any knowledge on how to handle that, and so she kind of accidentally goes to Ruth for help with this, and then he needs help from her in return, and they got like this really cool friendship going on. And I've been saying this for all the characters, but I look forward to seeing how he develops as a character in future chapters. But yeah, he's definitely my favorite so far. Then we have some more side characters like the servants and the knights and the squires, and I really like how they all feel like people in their own rights, even though they're very much not as developed as the main characters. It still feels like they are realistic to me. My two favorites are these two squires who are kind of like just these teenagers who go around goofing off, and at one point they go to Maxi and are like offer to escort her around the palace, and she tells them all these stories about Rifton, and in thanks they go and catch her a fish to cook for her, and I just think that's so funny. They're really adorable, and I look forward to seeing them more in the future installments of the story. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the plot, and I will get more into details about this when I get to pacing, but it kind of just, you can split this first season into two halves, and the second half is way better than the first in most regards. So the first half, the plot feels very like, I don't know, it's kind of rushed and also repetitive, so it takes Rifton and he picks up Maxi from her father's castle, and they go to his own castle, and it kind of just feels like they're there together, they're not really talking, they both think the other one hates each other, there's some sort of, like, conflict, like ogres or werewolves or what have you, they deal with that, and then they go back to being alone together, they don't talk, and it keeps repeating. But then once they get to the castle, it feels a lot better and more developed of a story. And I don't know, I wish that first part was just smushed down, because I can see why people would pick this up and get through the first like 10 chapters and be like, this is terrible, because it's not until like maybe 12 or 13 chapters in that it actually starts to get interesting. But I'm glad that I stuck with it, because it does really get interesting. Going kind of off of that is the world building, and the world building has definitely used some work. It's kind of like a generic medieval inspired fantasy world, which, I mean, I understand it's a classic for a reason. And we do get some info on like politics and things like that, but it's not really anything special, like there's nothing unique going on here. Though this is a romance focused story, so I guess that the world building can take a backseat to said romance, and it doesn't really suffer for that. Okay, now to talk about the pacing. Like I said, the first half and the second half are completely different. The first half is very repetitive and everything, but it also just like, you get thrown into the story in a really weird way, and I feel like you don't get to really meet the characters. The way they're introduced makes it seem like you should already know them, and it is kind of off-putting. But then once you like actually like settle into the story and know the characters, the pacing does slow down, it does feel more natural and progress in a way that makes sense for the story, and so I'm hoping it stays like that in the future installments. And lastly, I just want to talk about the art style, because this is a webcomic, so I read a lot of manga, and with manga, it's black and white. There's sometimes some colored pages in there, but it's 90% of it will be in black and white. But this is a webcomic, and so it's not meant for like physical print, and so the whole thing is illustrated, because you can do that when you don't have to worry about printing costs. And like the colors are so gorgeous in this. I love them so much. Rifton is this like deep, he has like this deep tan skin, and it's very beautiful, and Maxi has like gorgeous red hair, and like, I don't know, the color choices for different things are just really good. And I think my absolute favorite part of it is when the sky is shown, especially sunrises and sunsets. I just think that the colors are beautiful, and they like blend well together, and I don't know, I could look at this art for days. It's so pretty. But yeah, that is my review for Under the Oak Tree by Kim Suji. So if you've been seeing ads for this the way that I have, and have been thinking, well, maybe I should give it a shot, I'm not really sure, I think you should. At least think about it, because like I said, the beginning is kind of rough to get into, and so you do have to slog through a little bit. And I say slog through, it's really quick, like the chapters aren't super long, so it doesn't take a long time to read them. And so yeah, I would recommend giving it a shot and seeing if it's your thing, because it very much is my thing, and I'm happy that I tried it out. So that's all for me today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!